L'Assemblée va entendre.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. I request protocol to escort His Excellency.
Au nom de l'Assemblée générale,
on behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honour to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Mr. Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and to invite him to address the Assembly.
Mr. Chairman, colleague heads of state and government, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct honor for me to address this august body for the very first time as President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. On behalf of the government and people of Sierra Leone, I extend heartfelt condolences to the government and people of the Republic of Ghana and the United Nations family on the passing of Kofi Atta Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations. He served humanity and the world with distinction, and in our country's hour of need, he helped steer our nation out of deep abyss of seemingly intractable war. May his soul rest in perfect peace. He always showed us what is possible and what is best in humanity. Mr. Chairman, our commitment to building a peaceful and more secure world, as espoused in the United Nations Charter, as well as our commitment to the implementation of Agenda 2030, the Paris Agreement on climate change, and the ongoing reform processes of the United Nations resonate very well with the theme, making the United Nations relevant to all people, global leadership and shared responsibilities for peaceful, equitable, and sustainable societies. The work of the United Nations should continue to be guided by the values on which it was founded, including promoting peace, security, human rights, equality of all nations, and the promotion of social progress and better standards of life. In April this year, Sierra Leone registered their commitment to democratic governance with yet another peaceful transfer of power from an incumbent political power to the opposition. We acknowledge with humility the many messages of commendation from various parts of the world for conducting peaceful and credible presidential, parliamentary, and local council elections, which led to my election as President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. On behalf of the people of Sierra Leone, we sincerely appreciate invaluable contributions of the international community in facilitating and monitoring our electoral process. We acknowledge the role of the United Nations and our development partners for supporting the successful conduct of those elections. We are a successful model of stable democracy, one that has evolved and matured in 20 years from chaos and lawlessness of civil conflict. But stable democracies must be sustained. Sierra Leoneans voted for a change of government. They voted for a new direction and the right direction. My government is ready to maximize our country's potential for development because we believe that development sustains emerging, successful, and stable democracies like ours. The international community has invested hugely in facilitating and stabilizing Sierra Leone's democracy. the international community must continue to play its role in sustaining Sierra Leone's democracy in collaboration with the government and people of Sierra Leone. In addition to our firm commitment to good governance and prudent and accountable management of our nation's resources, we are ready to foster a conducive and congenial environment for credible GDP growth. We call on our bilateral partners to help us deliver on the expectations of our people with development funds, technical assistance, and the cultivation of valuable trade links. We cordially invite all credible investors into an open and congenial investment environment where all your investments are guaranteed and protected by our relevant laws, and where we have worked assiduously to remove barriers to the investment. Help us to sustain our democracy. Mr. Chairman, this Assembly made a historic pledge during the World Summit held in 2005, a pledge to strengthen the United Nations with a view to enhancing its authority and efficiency, as well as its capacity to address effectively and in accordance with the purposes and principles of the Charter the full ranges of challenges of our time. A number of gains have been made, including the establishment of the Peace Building Commission and the Human Rights Council, and the adoption of the resolution on responsibility to protect. These gains are laudable, but the need for reform is urgent and imperative. We should now endeavor to demonstrate the political way to particularly redress the historical injustice done to the African continent. The present geopolitical realities are compelling for a comprehensive reform of the Security Council to make way for equitable representation in all organs of the United Nations. Africa is the only continent without representation in the permanent category of the Security Council. Africa is also underrepresented in the non-permanent category. Africa's demand for 2 permanent seats with all the rights and prerogatives of current members, including the right of veto and 2 additional non-permanent seats, is a matter of common justice and the right to have an equal say in decision-making on issues that affect the Africa region. It is time that we addressed these long-standing injustice and imbalance perpetrated by the present configuration of the Security Council without any further delay. Africa is committed to the ongoing reforms that will make the United Nations fit for purpose in the 21st century. As the coordinator of the African Union Committee of 10 Heads of State and Government on the reform of the United Nations, we reiterate our concern over the continuous inaction of this body to adopt measures that will lead to Africa taking its rightful place in the Security Council. Unless and until we are able to contend with the reform of the Security Council, the most critical question of our day, our organization will be seemingly constituted on undemocratic and discriminatory principles. Let me reiterate the urgent need for comprehensive reform of the Security Council. 1.2 billion of the world's population of 7.5 billion are African. 1.2 billion of the world's population continues to contribute its fair share to maintaining world peace and security. About 70% of the decisions made at the UN Security Council ultimately affect those 1.2 billion Africans. Those 1.2 billion people are affected by over 70% of UN resolutions. 1.2 billion of the world population therefore ask, why it should be excluded from representation on the United Nations Security Council. Those 1.2 billion people simply want their voices to be fully represented on the UN Security Council. Mr. Chairman, my government's blueprint document for moving our country forward, the new direction focuses on taking Sierra Leone beyond the phase of peace building and consolidation to firmly establishing a stable, peaceful, open, pluralistic democracy that is a responsible and committed member of the international community of nations. At the domestic level, my government has established priority areas, including job creation, access to quality education, youth empowerment, empowerment of women and the disabled, combating graft and corruption, fostering a culture of accountability and transparency, ensuring effective and efficient public service delivery, and strengthening civic responsibility and national cohesion. Guided by both our specific situation and sustainable development goals, our government initiative and policy actions involve strengthening our democratic institutions, opening up democratic spaces, promoting democratic dialogue, and creating a more just and equal society. We see these as precursors for sustainable growth of our economy and development as a nation. My government's economic and development policies, as I stated inter alia, create a congenial environment for credible private sector investment and entrepreneurship. We are eager to work with and listen to the private sector. Our policies are enabling and our investment framework is attractive. We can ensure the full legal protection of our investment, and we can ensure predictable and profitable revenue streams and returns on investment. Sierra Leone is at the beginning of adopting renewable energy. We now need public and private investment for commercial and industrial use, powering hotels, agriculture, and industrial use. My country is endowed with sufficient renewable energy resources in solar irradiation, coastal and offshore wind, mini hydro, and bioenergy. My government's target of 60% renewable energy capacity by 2030 is practicable, especially to generate growth in rural areas. Our country, like most developing countries, has been on the expensive and dirty liquid fuel treadmill since independence. My government is seeking international technical assistance and capacity building for migrating a percentage of my country's power generation away from heavy liquid fuel to natural gas trucked to site. My government is seeking collaboration between local companies and engineering companies from around the world. We believe that investment in renewable energy sources and LNG will help us meet SDG 7 by modernizing our energy generation systems, and this will have a multiplier effect in helping our country meet SDGs for poverty alleviation through job creation and increased investment, health delivery, water, and cities. We are determined to make Sierra Leone the renewable energy hub of the ECOWAS regional bloc. Our vision is good for our world's climate, good for foreign and local investors and development, and good for our country. My government has a bold vision for science, technology, and innovation. I have established the first Directorate of Science, Technology, and Innovation. We have a set of bold and achievable targets for 2025 for developing solid ICT infrastructure that will support graft-free governance and the delivery of effective, reliable, responsive, and transparent services from banking and business to education, agriculture extension, revenue collection, healthcare delivery, access to justice, governance, tourism, trade, and the rule of law. We have undertaken extensive reforms in line with the SDG 16+ to create a peaceful, just, and inclusive Sierra Leone with resilient institutions. We are engaged in judicial and criminal justice reform and in collaboration with civil society and partner organizations. We continue to build on gains in justice delivery that take into account disparities in access to justice. We have launched a focused and sustained campaign against graft and waste and misuse of public funds. Our Revenue Authority has streamlined revenue collection and reduced tax evasion and theft. We have launched a free quality education program that provides access to basic through secondary education for the girl child and other children of school-going age. We are building, retooling, and opening up our governance, healthcare, financial, and other institutions to empower our women, young persons, the aged, and disabled compatriots. We are also reviewing discriminatory laws and practices and will engage communities in order to change traditional strictures that have excluded those persons. In particular, our young people, like young people all around the world, are energized and eager to make Sierra Leone a better place. Our development policies and priorities harness their vibrancy and direct it into targeted education and skills training, entrepreneurship, and strong civic participation. We are working towards a comprehensive biometric identification system that all citizens can fully participate in the economic and civic life of our nation. In particular, we acknowledge the support of the UNDP, Kiva, UNCDF in strengthening our national digital identification system. Their assistance modernizes our credit reference bureau, that we radically transform the financial inclusion landscape and the ease of doing business in our country. We are fully committed to promoting a free press, rescinding adversarial public order laws, and protecting and promoting the rights of citizens to know and to access information. We have instituted a National Civic Education Commission to further ensure the unrestricted participation of every Sierra Leonean in our stable democracy. For all of the foregoing, we need a constructive but intensive and sustained engagement with our bilateral partners and partner institutions. Mr. Chairman, my government is committed to increasing equitable access to quality health care for Sierra Leoneans. We call on bilateral partner organizations, private persons to help us invest in and also develop our critical institutions, technical, human resource capacity, as well as develop infrastructure that ensures the delivery of quality health care for all Sierra Leoneans. We recall with great appreciation the magnanimity of the world as we dealt with recent deadly epidemics like the Ebola virus disease and sustained intervention of our partners in helping us battle tropical diseases including malaria, cholera, and typhoid. We need more help in all those areas and in expanding and maintaining all immunization levels at 100%. My government has increased healthcare investment, but that will not be enough. We call on the international community to enhance our institutional and technical capacity for preventive health care and for managing public health and environmental sanitation issues, including waste management and storm drain water management in the urban areas. Sierra Leone welcomes the United Nations' renewed commitment to conflict prevention as embodied in its charter. The world, more now than ever before, needs a stronger United Nations and consistent and effective multilateralism that collectively ponders and cooperatively resolves mankind's common challenges, from trade to climate change and from world security to our common humanity and our collective social and economic well-being. Our foreign policy should be driven by the golden rule: impartiality and cooperation. This is the only way humanity can respond effectively without hesitation to the global challenges that we all face today. We acknowledge the continued relevance of the Programme of Action and the International Tracing Instrument, which constitutes the global framework to prevent, combat, and eradicate the illicit trade in small arms and light weapons in all aspects. We welcome the Secretary General's reform agenda in sustaining peace, including the effort to reform peacekeeping as one of the most effective tools available to the United Nations for peace and security. My government will bolster Sierra Leone's participation in the promotion and maintenance of international peace and security as a troop and police contributing country and supporting the United Nations peacekeeping operations, especially with the deployment of formed units or contingents of both military and police. Sierra Leone stands ready to continue contributing to world peace and security. With a strong belief in a shared vision and a common destiny, Sierra Leone stands with the world in meeting the world's challenges. Sierra Leoneans equally look forward to the world for all the help the world can give to consolidate Sierra Leone into an economically developed, open, inclusive, and pluralistic democracy. We are one with a faith that wisdom inspires, one with a zeal that never tires. We are optimistic because our country stands ready on the threshold of the new direction. Thank you all for listening.
Au nom de l'Assemblée générale, je tiens à remercier.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone for the statement just made. May I request representatives to remain seated while we greet the Head of State. Bid farewell to the Head of State. Thank you.